Oh, hello, hello, hello! Hi, friends. Scotty J Here, back with another episode of 9 Hours, 9 Persons, and 9 Doors. Now, last time, we decided to go through door number 1 with Ace and Clover. Just because last time, Clover had disappeared. We got lost and died. So this time, we're like, well, let's go with Clover and see what happens. It turns out this time that Clover found an axe, and then that axe found us, and we died. So, door 1 was not a good idea, it would seem. So, we're trying again. This time, we're going through door number 2. Let's continue, shall we? Alright. So, we know who's going through door 2. It'd be me, Lotus, and Junpei. 7 plus 8 plus 5 equals 20. 2 plus 0 equals 2. The only problem's the other two teams. June and I want door 6. Clover and I choose door 1. Well, that's not good. We can't open either of these doors with only 2 people. Everyone was silent. Then suddenly, Clover spoke, her face blank and cold. Why don't Santa and June go into door 1 with Ace? They looked at one another. 3 plus 6 plus 1 equals 10. 1 plus 0 equals 1. Finally, Ace spoke. Then what will you do, Clover? I'll be waiting at the stairs. You guys are coming back here, right? That's what 7 was saying, wasn't it? That had been what 7 said. Till we find door 9, 0 ain't gonna split us up. We might get separated for a little while, but we'll see each other again. Otherwise, we can't open door 9. That's how the notary game works. I'm sorry, but I just want to be by myself for a while. You understand, right? There was no emotion on her face, but it was drawn and pale, and her eyes were red. No one had the heart to contradict her. The room grew very quiet. Silence drifted down over everyone like a blanket of fresh snow. It was Santa who finally spoke. All right. I'm fine going through door 1. That all right with you, June? June said nothing and simply nodded. And just like that, their paths were set. It meant that Junpei would be away from June for a time, but it had been his choice, and he would have to make his peace with it. 7 had said they'd all see each other again, and Junpei believed him. Ace, Santa, and June headed towards the central staircase to the number 1 door. Clover followed them. After seeing them off, Junpei, 7, and Lotus stepped into the elevator behind them and descended to the bottom deck. They stepped off the elevator and headed for door 2. One by one, they put their palms on the recognition device, and 3 asterisks blinked to life on its screen. The door opened, and they leapt inside. Fortunately, it only took them moments to find the dead. It had been placed just inside the room, right next to the numbered door. They gathered around it and quickly scanned each of their bracelets. It stopped. Yeah, it stopped. Junpei could feel his heart pounding against the inside of his ribs. 7 and Lotus were breathing hard and fast. It was the 3rd time they'd been through this process, but they had yet to grow accustomed to it. Not that Junpei wanted to. He planned to finish this game long before the chance of letting imminent death become commonplace. Junpei looked around again. It was a short hallway with 5 doors along the wall. There were 3 doors along the left wall, and a single one on the right. And at the end of the hallway, the 5th door was covered by a thick metal plate. Junpei didn't think they'd be able to open it. After taking a look around the room himself, 7 spoke. All right, let's get started. I think we better split up. You two okay with that? Yes, no problem. Sure thing. 7 nodded to them and stepped into the room closest to him. Lotus looked at the door for a moment, then headed into the one in the center. At last, Junpei was left alone. Well, I guess I better get started too. He looked intently at the remaining 3 doors. Woohoo! Let's seek a way out. Alright, let's get to work. So welcome to the confinement room, the front hallway. As you can see, like described, there are 3 doors here, an exit door that we can't do anything with, and then I believe our exit door. So let's have some fun. Pop on in here to start. What do we got here? Oh, there's a bed. Lovely. Man, this is a mess. It's not even a bed anymore. Can't say I want to sleep there. There's a dirty blanket on the bed. Nice. Oh, what do we got here? Man, this handle's pretty loose. Loose? You think it comes off if you pull on it? It fell off. Huh. Look at this. The handle doesn't really fit on the string. Maybe it wasn't meant to be attached to it. Hey, look at that. We got a handle. Sick. What about over here? I don't think I'm going to need this tube. Well, this part's thinner than the rest. In fact, it doesn't really look like it's part of the rest of this thing at all. The rod feels loose. Maybe if I give it a couple turns. Oh, here we go. Look at that, a screwdriver shaft. Nice. Well, let us combine. So if I just stick this metal rod into the handle. Hey, we got ourselves a screwdriver. Neato. Oh, there's a sun right there. A symbol of the toilet lid, huh? Seems a little fishy to me. It's a sun symbol, but it doesn't look like the ones on the doors. Okay. Anything to note over here? Oh, hey, look, spot with the screws. This thing's really simple. Is it really a desk? Well, of course, it's gonna be simple. I mean, it's probably like that, so we don't try and use it as part of the puzzle, right? Probably use the desk to write letters to your family or something. But this is a boat. I bet the only thing that's used for was heating off of. Oh, but there's these screws here. Huh? What the hell? It's not opening. There's something up with this drawer. I don't trust it. Hey, look at that. We can unscrew this screw, but also look at this lovely close-up. Sweet, we got the screws off. Now we can open the drawer. Yeah, we can. Oh, there's nothing in here, though. Well, maybe the drawer's what we need. The drawer, huh? Alright, let's yank the thing out. Okay. Guess we have a desk drawer now, for reasons I'm unaware of. Little divots in the back, but otherwise, interesting. Alright. Well, let's go check out the other room, I guess. Into Lotus's room, shall we? Anything of note over here? Hello, toilet seat. Oh, there's a moon. A moon? What a filthy, disgusting moon. Yeah, it's pretty filthy, but it's a precious hint. Let's remember it, alright? Okay. Nothing really of note there. Nothing of note there, it seems. Oh, there's this bed. Oh, hey. There's a towel. Nothing on the back of the towel, just a spring to a basin. I think we saw something that looked like that on the mirror in the other room. Ah, that bed looks cold. Pretty sure you'd freeze to death in the winter. No kidding. If you tried sleeping here, my skin would dry out in no time. Well, it's not like you're that young anymore. That shouldn't really matter. My, Junpei, aren't you lucky? It seems you'll die before you have a chance to grow old and hideous. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You're right. Dry skin is a woman's worst enemy. This bed looks even sadder without the pillow. So, it's still a terrible bed. I'd never sleep on a bed like that. Fair. Oh, hey. Another shady-looking desk. There's nothing in the drawer. Yeah. Something's not right, though. The handle on the drawer doesn't really fit, you know? It looks just messy. Why don't you take it out? Oh, sweet. We've acquired another drawer. However, yeah, nothing really weird. Oh, there's like a mirror on the back. That's cool. Well, let's see if we can do anything with the screwdriver we still have. If we use a screwdriver on the screw in the center of the handle, maybe I can... Hey, look at that. We got a knob. Let's do it. Oh, hey, that's perfect, because it was missing that. Ah, sweet, the handle I got off that drawer fits this faucet perfectly. Now I can turn the water on. Let's do it. Junpei, what are you doing? It's pretty obvious, isn't it? I'm running the water. I can see that. I'm asking you why you're just letting it run like that. Well, think about it, Lotus. This faucet didn't have a knob when we found it, right? What do you mean? Well, just watch. Anytime now. Hey, water's filling up. Doesn't that just mean the pipes are clogged? Whoops, let's turn it off for now. Okay. So did anything change? Well, the water stopped flowing. Thank you, Mr. Obvious. Ugh, Junpei, I'm leaving this one to you, alright? Alright. So there's the river on this side, so maybe that towel is like a hint to go back. Let's check. Seven's room. Anything in the... Hey, look at that! There's a tile. Very nice. Junpei put the wet tile into his pocket. He's about to turn away when... there was a noise behind him. He spun around to see Seven kneeling on the floor. His face was rigid and pale. Droplets of sweat covered his forehead. Hey, what's going on? Are you okay, man? He was concerned. He'd never seen Seven like this before. Slowly, the other man lifted himself to his feet on shaky legs. Yeah, I'm fine. I just got a little dizzy, that's all. His face was pale, and his breathing was heavy. Sweat was pouring off his face and straining his shirt. He was many things, but fine was not one of them. Are you sure? You don't look so good. Seven didn't answer. Half of his face was twisted, as if distorted by extreme pain, and his eyes were glazed. Finally, he spoke. What am I doing here? Huh? His words made no sense. What are you talking about? We opened the number 2 door and walked in here. Don't tell me you forgot. No, not that. That's not what I mean. He shook his head several times, as if trying to clear something from it. It ain't much, but I think I got some of my memories back. Oh man, I think I've been here before. Huh? I said I think I've been in this room before. You were here? When? Why? Aoi, Light, and Nona. Suddenly, Seven was mumbling to himself. They were words that Junpei didn't understand. Seven's hoarse voice trailed off, and Junpei couldn't make out what he'd said. What the hell was that? Seven's brow furrowed furiously, and he ground his teeth back and forth. It's right there. I feel like I'm this close to remembering everything. But I just can't. Seven stopped, frustrated. He pulled his hat off and ran his hand through his hair. Then suddenly he looked up. His eyes were wide. That's right! An experiment! There was some kind of experiment going on this ship. An experiment? What sort of experiment? They were trying to control people. Or something like that. Junpei didn't know what to make of Seven's story. Instead, he simply stared at Seven as Seven continued. Aoi, Light, and Nona. Those were their names. Well, some of their names. The kids that were there in the experiment, I mean. I think there were like 4 or 5 more. I don't remember all their names. Yeah, that's right. That's why I'm here. Seven began to mumble to himself and wander aimlessly around the room. He looked confused. So far as Junpei could tell, the man was simply rambling, and there were odd twitches in his movement. Experiment? Cradle Pharmaceutical? Those kidnapped kids. Was I working that case? Seven continued to mumble to himself about things that meant nothing to Junpei. Junpei didn't have any answers for him, of course. He couldn't understand what was happening to Seven. All he could do was wait. After a few minutes, Seven finally stopped. He crouched down and looked under the bed. His face registered mild surprise, and he began to mumble to himself. The hole's gone? Now maybe it was a different room. There's gotta be tons of rooms like this on a boat. At last, Junpei could contain himself no longer. Hey, what exactly do you remember? Well, maybe you could stop talking like a crazy person and just tell me what's going on here. Seven stood up slowly. Well, it's not like I really remember everything. I've only got bits and pieces, and they're scattered, and they don't make much sense. And I don't care. Just tell me the bits and pieces, then. Junpei could feel it. Whatever Seven had remembered, it was important. It was very important. Seven drew a large, muscled hand down across his face. As he wiped the sweat from his brow, he spoke. From what I can remember, I think I was a cop. A cop? Yeah. I was looking for that group of kids that got kidnapped 9 years ago. You remember that, right? It was all over the news. Yeah. I was still in school. I don't remember all the details, but I do remember some of it. I think it was a bunch of kids right around my age. They all just disappeared, and nobody knew why. It was all over the TV and the newspapers every day. So you're saying you were investigating it? Yeah, that's what it looks like. And I guess I found something. There was this medical company called Cradle Pharmaceutical that had something to do with those kids. After I figured that out, I managed to get some information out of somebody who worked for them. They told me a ship would be leaving that night with all the kids on it. They were going to be taken to some kind of big passenger ship somewhere out in the ocean. And so, Seven had headed to the wharf. He kept to the shadows and before long found the suspicious ship he'd been looking for. There were a number of human shapes moving near the ship. They were men in black suits. Many of them were carrying large bags onto the ship. The bags... There was something about the way they moved as they were carried. There could be no mistake. There were human beings in those bags. They had been moved before he even realized... He had moved before he even realized he was going to. Out of the shadows he came, his gun already in his hand. Then he heard the words, "Don't move," but they weren't his. He felt metal touch the back of his head. "Drop your gun," came the cold voice from behind him. With the words, he felt the cold metal thing behind him press against his skull. Slowly, Seven crouched down and laid his gun on the ground. And suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his neck. A needle. Was it some sort of drug? As he was thinking about that, Seven felt his face hit the cold concrete beneath him. He could feel the chill of it sweeping into him. Ugh, damn it! Shit, my head hurts! Seven woke up to find himself lying on a hard floor. He twisted his neck to peer around the room. Where am I? There was a small, shabby bed and a dirty sink. A toilet with no stall or privacy of any sort. As a cop, it was a place Seven had seen too often. I'm in a cell, huh? Opposite the toilet was a door set in the wall. Seven struggled to his feet and hobbled towards it. Gave the door a good shove, and then another. Then he tried pulling it. It didn't open. Well, that was about what he expected. It wasn't likely that someone would put him in a cell only to leave it unlocked. He threw himself against the door a few times, but to no avail. I knew it, Seven grumbled to himself as he moved back towards the bed. He sat down. He sat there for a very long time. Just how long, he wasn't sure. At last he began to nod off, and had nearly fallen asleep when he was roused by a different voice. There's... over here! It's a 9! The voice was far away, very far away. Seven couldn't understand what it was saying. Nevertheless, it was a voice, and a high one, most likely a child. His eyes shot open. Over... okay? As he listened, he could pick out several different, distinct voices. There were at least 5 or 6, possibly more. Where were the voices coming from? He looked around the room frantically. Perhaps the door? No, that wasn't it. What? Now? Was it coming from the left? Was it coming from under the bed? He grabbed the bed and flipped it up with ease. There it was. There was a hole for ventilation in the wall where the bed had been, covered with a metal grate. Seven lay down on his stomach and peered through the grate. He couldn't see anything. It was too dark. Now that he'd found it, however, there'd be no doubt this was the source of the voices. For a moment, he was confused. Why were there children nearby? Then he remembered what the man from Cradle Pharmaceutical had told him. How a ship would take the kidnapped children from the wharf to a waiting passenger liner out in the ocean. Was Seven on that passenger liner? It didn't matter. What mattered was that he had to find a way to the children. Seven looked up at the metal grate. Could he fit through that hole? He stuck his fingers through the grate and grabbed hold of it. Oh, yeah! How'd you like that, you son of a bitch? The dark square sat open before him. Seven wiped the sweat from his forehead and crawled inside. Junpei waited for Seven to resume his story. The longer he waited, however, the clearer it became that Seven had no intention of doing so. He had gone silent and simply stared off into the air, his eyes blank. Hey, what happened after that? He waited long enough, but Seven shook his head. I don't remember what happens after that. I think I found some kind of door out of the duct. And I think I found some kids, too. Oh, man. Why can't I remember what happened next? Oh, man. What happened to the kids, Seven? Did you save them? I don't know. I don't know if it was me. I got this feeling. I think one of the kids died. A girl, I think. Uh-huh. Deep in his heart, Junpei felt something very cold. Seven's head dropped, and Junpei saw on it a look of sadness, the likes of which he had never seen on the man before. The large man's eyes blinked rapidly, as if he were fighting back tears, and swallowed hard. Ugh. His sigh was like the melancholy setting of an old abandoned building. He shook his head and spoke. Anyways, just please don't ask me any more, okay? I really don't remember anything else. After that, Junpei could hardly try to force answers out of the man. There was nothing more he could do. Instead, Junpei turned his mind to make sense of what Seven had told him. The children who'd been kidnapped 9 years before. Apparently, a company called Crater Pharmaceutical had been behind the kidnappings and had taken the children to the ship they were now on. They'd been brought to the ship for an experiment. Something to do with controlling human beings, Seven had said. The 16 children who'd been kidnapped were the subjects for the experiment. Seven had said 3 of their names: Aoi, Light, and Nona. That was the new information. He had also learned that Seven was, or had been, a police officer. Still, there was little he could do with this new information. He'd learned nothing about the nonary game or Zero. He had no idea why they'd been brought to the ship that had been the site of those experiments 9 years before. Junpei couldn't forget what Seven had said the purpose of the experiment had been. To control human beings. Could such an absurd experiment really be conducted? Before long, Junpei realized he'd spent quite some time deep in thought. No time for that, he chided himself. He had work to do. Junpei shook his head quickly to clear it, and returned to his investigation, thoughts swirling in his mind. Well, alright. We got a tile. Let's go to the dark room. We haven't gone in there yet. Drawer without a handle. Oh. 14 equals E. Interesting. It says 14 equals E in red. I think I saw 14 in red somewhere else. Was it on something I'm carrying with me? Was it? Oh, not the calculator. My apologies. Oh, hey. It says 14 on the tile. Interesting. Okay. Well, let's head on back then. Oh, yeah. We can probably use this mirror to reflect the light. I just gotta figure out where to reflect the light from. Maybe if I go somewhere that's a little easier to shine light on? Let's hit this mirror. So if I shine this light on the mirror back... Oh, I get it. If I shine the light on a mirror, a symbol appears. The left one had a sun, and the right one's got a moon symbol. I'm gonna remember that. And then how about in here? Shine the light on the mirror in the back. Is that a number? So if I shine the light on this mirror, then I get to see some numbers. I see a 4 on the left and a 7 on the right. 4 and 7. Well, alright. So, let's go. So this one had the sun. I pull this lever. The only thing you can manipulate in this room is that string. Chances are they made this puzzle so that someone wouldn't trigger it by accident. 1. Guess you just keep pulling on this thing. Alright, here goes. Second pull. Third pull. Fourth pull. Did you hear something? I did, but it doesn't look like anything's happened here. Huh, I wonder what that sound was. Well, alright, so we triggered a noise from doing that. Let's head in here. So this is what the moon symbol was pointing to, huh? Probably made it so that someone wouldn't trigger it by accident. If that's the case, one second time, third time, a fourth time, a fifth time. This is the sixth consecutive time, and finally, the seventh time. Oh, there's that sound again. Happens whenever I pull the string a couple of times. Junpei, did you hear something from the other room? The other room? You mean the dark room? Let's go check that out. First, let's pop over to that desk quick. Oh, it sounds like something's falling. What was that? I heard it too. Let's open the drawer. Hey, there's a tile. Another tile with 14 on it. Alright, let us out the door into the dark room. Spin around. Are you... Hey. Well, this drawer opens easily enough. Hey, 14. Oh, bunch of weird lines on this tile thing. I don't get this. Maybe Seven or Lotus can help me out. Maybe. Hey, we got our 14s. Okay. Now, this toilet said E equals 14. Is there anything on that door? I don't even think we actually looked at the door yet. Oh, look at that. Okay. Well, it looks like we've been investigating all the rooms. The only mystery left is that door. Alright, let's crack that mystery then. We got 4 tiles. And there's a bunch of tiles that are the same size on the wall here. So if we replace the 4 tiles on the wall with the ones we've got, that should open the door. Well, there's only one way to find out. Oh, okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4 E's. Neat. So just swap E out for E in hexadecimal. Hey. Hey, did you hear something unlock? Does that mean we got it right? Yes, it looks like we did. The 14's hidden on the tile. If you convert that to hexadecimal, it's an E. Basically, the E's in emergence are the 14's on the tile. So if we replace it, that gives us the answer. Do I really care why it worked? Let's just get out of here. Yes, let's go. Woohoo! We found it. Oh, yeah. They passed through the open door and headed into the next room. Junpei jogged down the short staircase and looked around. Ooh. What the hell is this place? The words had sprung unbidden from his lips, and it was clear why. Junpei shivered. Lotus and Seven reached the bottom of the stairs and stopped short, terrified. This room is really creepy. I think we ought to get the hell out of here, now. He jogged up the stairs to the opposite side of the room and shook the door on the wall next to the catwalk. It didn't open, and he muttered to himself. Figures. It's locked, isn't it? Yep. Don't know why I thought this wouldn't be any different. Junpei looked around the room again. In the center of it was a chair. The back of it was covered with electrodes, connected to the nest of wires. Beneath it was a strange glass panel. Junpei wasn't sure what it was for, but it made him uncomfortable. Whatever might have been behind the glass, Junpei couldn't tell. It was too dark. Junpei turned to look at the right side of the room. There was a table covered with a piece of cloth. Parts of the cloth were stained with something that looked suspiciously like blood. On top of the table was a number of metal instruments. Junpei didn't know what they were for. He had a feeling he didn't want to find out. His mind began to imagine what could have taken place in that dark, cold room. The things he imagined were not pleasant. Junpei shook his head in an attempt to clear it, tried to focus on something else. Anyways, why don't we I don't want to stay here any longer than we got to. Let's figure out the puzzles and get the hell out of here. Come on. Alright, you heard 7. Let's figure it out and bingo machine, go go! So, welcome to the torture room. Oh, how fun. At least there's a fun catwalk, and there's a chair, and a bloody table, and that glass seems really sus. Let's have fun, shall we? Oh boy! Alright, well first, when we saw the little video, that wrench stuck out to me. So let's grab the wrench. That's where we came in. Anything with this? The cover's bolted on there pretty good. Should be able to get the bolts off with this wrench we just found, though. Oh, sweet. Oh, sweet, it's open. Oh, the hole's too small. You can't see in, even with the cover off. Well, you can't see in, but I think there's enough room to stick your arm in. Are you sure you want to do that? There could be something dangerous in there. Okay, I admit, that scares me a little. But we need to see if there's anything useful in there. Alright, here we go. Arm into the hole. Oh, hey, I think I can feel something. It's small, cold, and hard. Doesn't feel like there's anything else in here. Alright, let's see what this thing is. Oh, we got the sun key. Neat. Nothing in there anymore. Alright. Let's back it on up. Anything we need to do with... Oh, there's like a device. Oh, there's something on the screen. This device will conduct the experiment. Once the experiment has been completed, the door will unlock. First, adjust the switches to match the blocks in the example above. Huh? I don't know what this thing is, but we gotta figure out this puzzle. It's right next to a torture chair. Whatever it is, I don't think it's good. Anyways, we just adjust the switches to match the blocks up top, right? You adjust the switches shown at the 4 corners of the screen, then press the check button. Junpei, we don't know what this thing does. You can always come back to it later, but there are a lot of other things you could do. She's right. Okay, well, let us... On. Oh, hey, look at that. That matches perfectly. Sweet. Check. Hey, we did it. Look at that. First try. Lucked out really nicely there. Adjustment is complete. Now proceed to the execution phase. To complete the experiment, data must be collected from subject. Once preparation is finished, place subject in chair. Whoa, I thought we solved the puzzle already. What does it mean by preparation? I don't know. I've got a bad feeling about this, though. I think it means one of us has got to sit in the chair. Well, 7's never going to fit in that thing. It's either me or you, Junpei. Collecting data. I wonder if it's going to run electricity through the subject. There's a human head on the screen. Maybe it'll zap the brain with a little electricity. This really doesn't sound safe. Anyways, we still got to prepare. We can talk about this after we figure out what it means by preparation. Alright? Alright. It wants us to prepare, so maybe we ought to ask it what we need to do. Error. The disposal tank is closed. Please fill the tank with water. What tank? Oh, don't tell me we gotta do something with a water tank. Well, there's probably something around here to open the tank. Whatever it's asking us to do. Looks like the only controls are in this room. Alright. Over here. Oh, these levers have got to turn something on. Of course they would. All they can do is turn something on or off. What's important is what they turn on or off. Don't say the floor is going to suddenly open up. I can see some oil or something down there at the base of this lever. Oh yeah, it feels like it's got some movement to it. I should be able to pull this one. Alright, let's pull the lever. Is that water? What the hell? What's going on? Will you calm down? It's just water going somewhere. It sounds like it's underneath us. That's the floor. Oh! Junpei, look! What the... She's... Oh, damn! I can see through the glass now. Oh, snap. And there is a shark in there. There's a couple of letters in the color of blood written on the shark's belly. It's dead. Looks like the letters are E, D, B, and F. Whatever... These have to be in the room somewhere. Okay, cool. E, D, B, F. Sweet. I think over here... Yeah, here we go. E... There's a bunch of buttons here with the letters A through F on them. Let's push some of them. Down you go! So if I press it again, back you come! I guess these buttons switch something on or off when you push them. So I believe it was D, B, E, and F. Oh, I don't like that sound. There's a strange noise coming from the chair. Looks like it's been turned on. I guess the puzzle here was that the power had to be set in a specific way. I believe she's right. Error. The restraint device is locked but empty. The subject has not been properly placed. Unlock the restraint device and reseat the subject. Well, the restraint device has to be the chair. Well then, I guess we need to unlock the chair. Oh, we could probably use the key? Sun key should fit into the keyhole on these manacles. Alright, Sun key, in you go! And yes! Ah, great, they're open. I don't think we're going to need the Sun key again in here, though. Just seems unlikely. Alright, Sun key, you've done your job. Into my pocket with you! And Junpei is on one today. I don't think examining the chair is going to cause the machine to do anything. Should probably take a look at the monitor again. Okay. The restraint device is unlocked. Please seat subject into the device. Message on the screen was disturbingly detached. Well, like we thought, it's not going to work unless someone sits in it. How ironic that this would be the situation in which this slim, beautiful body is useful. Lotus, are you sure? I can sit in it and you can solve...
Junpei's right. If we screw it up...
Seven couldn't bring himself to finish the thought. His eyes fell to the floor. Junpei followed them. Beneath them was the dead shark, floating beneath the glass. Perhaps it had been killed by electric shock? It'll be fine. Even if I fall in, the shark is already dead. But... no one likes an indecisive man, Junpei. I can still give you advice from the chair, too, you know. I just don't want to stay in this room any longer than we have to. Go over to that screen and let's get this over with. After her words had made it clear that Lotus would book no argument, she turned and walked towards the chair without hesitation. But she did not sit down. Despite what she had said, she did indeed feel hesitation. Her legs shook. Look, do you think you could do me one last favor? Oh, don't say last.
You're making me nervous.
Just listen. If something bad happens to me, I want you to tell my daughters that I love them very much. No. Tell them that I will always love them.
Daughters? You've got kids?
Yes, I do. I suppose they're about your age, Junpei. They're twins. I had them when I was very young after some things happened. Their names are Nona and... Wait, Nona? Junpei's words shut out before he even realized what he was saying. He remembered the story Seven had told him. Aoi, Light, and Nona. Those were their names. Well, some of them. The kids that were there in the experiment, I mean. What the hell? What's wrong with you? Lotus took a step back from Junpei. Seven looked just as shocked as Junpei. He blinked his eyes rapidly, as if he weren't sure it was completely awake.
No way, it couldn't. Lotus, is your last name Kashiwabara?
You screwed up my last name.
I did, I'm really sorry.
Her eyes went wide. How do you know that?
Are you serious? What the hell is this? There's no way you're that kid's mom.
That kid? What do you mean, that kid? Why are you acting like you've met her? Seven's brow furrowed.
I have.
What?
Yeah, I met one of your kids.
When?
9 years ago.
Where?
On this ship.
Why were you...
It's not a short story.
I don't care how long it is. Tell me, please. What happened here? Seven glanced at Junpei, then turned back to Lotus and began to speak. It was the same story Junpei had heard only minutes before. Every detail. At last, Seven finished. Lotus shook her head. Oh my god. Everything I've been looking for these last 9 years. The person who had all these answers was right here? Looking for? Yes, that's right. 9 years ago, my daughters disappeared. Then 9 days later, they came back. They never told me what happened to them over those 9 days. I took them to the doctor, but I was told they hadn't been hurt in any way. Still, I was sure that they had been through something terrible. So I couldn't bring myself to force them to talk about it. If I did, then I'd force them to relive whatever horrors they'd been through. I didn't have any choice. I had to try to ignore it and move on. A few months passed. Of Gradually, they started to act like they always had, before they disappeared. They smiled and made jokes, and did all the silly things that kids do. It got harder and harder for me to ask them about what happened. How could I ask them to remember that? Eventually, I knew there was no way I could do it. But I'm still a mother. I couldn't simply forget something terrible had happened to my children. So I decided I would investigate what had happened to them on my own. I would find out what happened during those 9 missing days.
What did you find?
Nothing. The police pretended to be concerned, but they didn't do anything. Once the 16 children who'd gone missing came back, they were just swept under the rug. Even the media didn't talk about what had happened. I figured someone was probably paying them or threatening them to keep their mouths shut.
Cradle Pharmaceutical. Oh, probably something bigger than that.
Cradle Pharmaceutical?
Have you heard of them before?
No, it's the first time I've heard that name. 7. How did you find out that Cradle Pharmaceutical was connected to the kidnappings in the first place?
I figured finding out whatever the victims had in common would lead me to the culprit. That's what any good cop does.
Oh, what did they have in common?
Every single one of those kids who had disappeared had gone to this one hospital at some point.
The hospital had a hunch that were under the control of Cradle Pharmaceutical.
After that, it was just about connecting the dots.
The hospital.
The hospital? For a while, I was trying to get some sort of story out of the kids at the hospital. One of them told me a weird story.
What was it?
Have you heard about the Gansfield experiment? I guess all these kids had to go through with it while they were at the hospital. I think it was passed off as some sort of counseling.
7 cleared his throat and proceeded to explain the Gansfeld experiment. First, subjects Q and A are put into separate rooms, far away from another. Then a series of video images are shown to subject Q, who is told to send the images to subject A by thinking about them. Subject A, on the other hand, is put in a large reclining chair and given a blindfold. With their senses cut off, A is asked to guess what images Q is looking at. Oh yes, I've heard of that. It's a famous telepathic experiment, isn't it? Telepathy. Junpei rolled the word over in his mind. That's how the experiments on this ship was supposed to work. The experiment to control people, right? Yeah. I don't know if any of the telepathy stuff really exists. Maybe someone from Cradle Pharmaceutical bought into it? Lotus grunted. 7 had began thinking hard for the last several minutes and finally spoke up.
Even if that is the case, I still don't get how that has anything to do with any of this. The Nonary games, Zero, why we were kidnapped. What does any of that have to do with telepathy? I know I've brought this all up, but I have no idea. Maybe none of this stuff is connected after all.
Then in that moment of silence, a cold voice echoed down from the ceiling. No subject has been detected. Unless a subject is detected within 60 seconds, all power will be shut down. System recovery is estimated to take 1 hour. If you wish to proceed with the experiment, please seat subject in the restraining device.
Oh, whoa, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going.
Oh, no, that's not what we...
Oh, just hurry up and get it over with. Junpei, I'm counting on you. Right. Lotus sat down in the chair. Junpei looked at her one last time, then made his way to the monitor. Lotus, please tell me right away if you feel anything weird. Oh, you worry too much. Now get on with it and be a man, or June's gonna leave you. Lotus was putting on her best act she could manage, but her legs were shaking so much that if she hadn't been sitting, she likely would have fallen down. Failure was not acceptable. Junpei took one last deep breath and stared at the monitor. Oh boy, it's time. All right. So we got this one, so now we gotta get it to match the side portraits? Okay. Interesting. Let's head the other way. Okay, that's closer. Let's go back this way. Off. 1.
Oh, okay. That seems to match here, here, here. Match here, here, here. It's the other side again. I think we're a match. Check the answers. Hey! We got it. Awesome. The experiment is concluded. The door will now unlock. Oh, I can hear the door unlocking. And now we've got a new message. Release subject from restraining device. Lotus, are you alright? Yes, I am. I'm glad nothing bad happened, but I do think my life just got a little shorter. Hold on, I'll get you out right away. Shouldn't take long for Seven and me to get her out of here. Oh, let's get out of here now. Being a guinea pig is not for me. Damn straight. I never want to see this thing again. To the door. Phew! Alright, 2 for 2. Let's go! You found it. Outside of the room, a hallway led off to their left. With nowhere else to go, they started down it. It turned left twice before they saw the elevator. In the silence, they jogged up to it. Junpei pushed the C button. The elevator motor ground away. Before long, they found themselves once again on C deck. The door opened, and they stepped off. Junpei, Lotus, and Seven nodded at one another and took off running down the long hallway in front of them. They ran and ran and ran. The hallway seemed endless. Their destination had already been decided. The door behind the central staircase. There was a sun symbol engraved on the keyhole of that door, and Junpei had the sun key in his pocket. That key would open the door. It had to. That is why they ran for the central staircase. They'd run for quite some time when they arrived at the door at the end of the hallway. The Jupiter door was already unlocked. Junpei grabbed hold of the doorknob and threw it open. They rushed through and stopped cold. The terrible scene before them made their blood run cold. 3 people lay dead on the floor, covered in blood. Junpei felt a cold sweat trickle down his spine. He couldn't breathe. His legs shook. His body felt cold, oh, deathly cold. But his blood was boiling hot. He could feel his mind begin to fade. He couldn't think. He couldn't concentrate. His mind was blank.
What the hell? What the hell happened?
Seven's voice was weak and broken. He edged towards the bodies, his movements stiff. He bent down over Clover and pressed his fingers to her wrist.
Nothing. She's dead.
Suddenly, Lotus moved. Before he understood what was happening, her hand was in Junpei's vest pocket. Hey, what are you doing? He leapt back. Lotus looked upon him, terrified. The key. Give me the sun key. Why? Why do you think? We have to get out of here before the murderer comes back. The murderer? The murderer. Once again, Junpei looked at the dead bodies. Santa, Clover, and Ace. That meant the person who had killed them was... No, it couldn't be true. Before Junpei could react, Lotus dove back into his pocket and came out with the key. Let's go! Without waiting for Seven or Junpei, she ran straight for the central staircase. They followed. Junpei shut his eyes and swallowed his emotions. Morning would have to wait. Soon they stood in front of the door. Lotus shoved the sun key into the keyhole and twisted it hard. But... why?
What happened?
Nothing. Nothing happened. I didn't feel it unlock.
Oh no. Is it the wrong key?
I don't know. Maybe? Lotus sighed, defeated and leaned against the doorknob. She felt it twist. A small gap appeared between the door and the frame.
What the hell is this?
You mean the door was already unlocked?
Why?
How would I know that? Whatever, let's just go. Lotus took a deep breath and slowly opened the door the rest of the way. They stepped inside.
front of them was another hallway. It stretched out towards the bow of the ship. They began to run. Faster and faster they ran, trying desperately to reach the end of the hallway. A few seconds later, they were there. In front of them stood a massive metal door. They were all breathing heavily as Junpei spoke. What the hell is this door? I can't see anything that looks like a doorknob or a switch or a lever or a card reader or anything. How the fuck are we supposed to open this?
We don't have a choice. We're gonna have to go back.
No, I am not going back there. There's a murderer back there. There was more stark terror in Lotus's voice than authority. She was almost begging.
But I don't see any other doors.
As he spoke, Seven stepped towards the door in front of them, as if to illustrate that it was the only door. It opened. Nothing surprising, a simple automatic door.
Look, guys, I got a real bad feeling about all this. The other doors were already unlocked, and this one's automatic. We haven't seen anything like this before.
How could their situation possibly get worse? 3 people were already dead. They'd hit the bottom, Junpei told himself. There was nowhere to go but up. He stepped through the door. And whatever hope Junpei had managed to summon disappeared. No. Oh, it wasn't true. It couldn't be true. It was impossible. Utterly impossible. It was a dream. It had to be a dream. A nightmare. Yes, it was a nightmare. And if he could just wake up, he was seeing things. Yes, that was it. He was hallucinating. A lie. It wasn't real. It wasn't real. It wasn't real, right? June. No, the codenames didn't mean anything now. Connie! Junpei cried out and leapt through the door. He flew to her side, his heart like a stone in his chest. Connie! Hang on! Junpei swept her up and shook her by the shoulder. She moaned, her eyes fluttered open, but only barely. Connie! Junpei? Her face was pale and her lips were dry and cracked. Her eyes were blank and cloudy. They started straight at Junpei, but saw nothing. Junpei put his head against the small of her back to hold her up. He felt warm and wet. He lifted his hand up. It was covered in blood. Oh, man. Connie, what the hell happened to you? How did this happen? It was all he could do to not break into tears. Junpei, I'm sorry. Voice was a minuscule thread that was the only thing keeping her with him. I might not make it. No way. No way am I gonna let you die. I gotta save you, I promise. Thank you, Junpei. Thank you so much for everything. I was really happy to see you again, Junpei. Really, really happy. Oh, don't give me that I was crap. You're gonna see me a lot more times. You're just gotta hang on, alright, Connie? Oh, come on. What could he do? He looked up from Connie, desperate for something. Anything. Then he saw it. A small submarine. A submarine? What on earth was a submarine doing in here? No, that didn't matter. Nothing mattered except saving Connie. That was the only thing he wanted. Junpei turned his head back to look down at her. Hang on, alright? There's a submarine over there. I'm gonna see if it works. No, don't go. Please don't go. Please just stay with me, okay? I want to be close to you, Junpei. Connie. Junpei, did you know? You meant a lot to me when we were kids. I've liked you for a long time, Junpei. A really long time. Junpei's vision had gone blurry. It took him a moment to realize his eyes were filled with tears. He could feel a piercing point of deep heat in his heart. It was a white-hot flame. Junpei, do you remember how we hung out a lot when we were kids? When we went to the pool and to the fair? Do you remember playing snowball at the school? They're all memories I'll never forget. All of these moments are treasures to me. But I also wanted to go to a lot of other places with you. A lot more. But that won't happen now. No, yes, it will happen. We'll go to all sorts of places, Connie. You hear me? I promise. We'll go wherever you want. Really? Yeah, really, I swear. Oh, that makes me happy. Really happy. She said it to herself over and over, a weak smile creasing her tired face. Jumpy, I feel sleepy. No, Connie, don't fall asleep. Thank you, Jumpy. Thank you so much. Her eyes were slowly closing. Junpei screamed, even as he felt his throat go hoarse. Connie! 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 Time passed. Junpei wept and curled around Connie's body. He cried and cried until he had no tears left. When the last tear fell, Junpei was no more. His body remained, but only as an empty shell. Somewhere he heard a bell ring. It was the clock at the central staircase. It rang 5 times, and then faded. 5 o'clock. Quietly, gently, softly, he set Connie down on the floor. Slowly, Junpei stood. Only then did he realize that Seven and Lotus had not followed him. Where had they gone? Slowly, he looked around the room. There was nothing. No sign that they had ever been there. It felt as though every part of Junpei's body was made of lead. Slowly, he made his way to the door he'd come through. As he approached it, it opened, sliding apart with a sound like grinding stone. Junpei passed through the gate and into the hallway. His heart rattled in his chest, an empty, lifeless thing. It had been so utterly broken that there was nothing left to feel. When he saw their bodies, he simply stared. It was a lake, a sea of blood, and 2 bodies lay in it. There was no need to check. There was no breath left in them. His eyes lit on Lotus's wrist. Her bracelet. It was gone. He stared. It meant nothing to him. He didn't care anymore. He couldn't care anymore. Junpei's body felt numb. Part of him knew this lump of lead in his chest had once been a heart. He couldn't quite remember what it had been for. Tears poured from his eyes in great streams, and he wasn't sure why. He gave up trying to make them stop. He turned around, the door opened again, and slowly, numbly, he walked through. He kept walking. Why stop? An object set in motion. Simple inertia carried him forward. Eventually, he found himself in front of the submarine. An arm reached for the hatch. And then he was floating in the water. His eyes stared down into it, and he couldn't see the bottom. His back was hot. Dimly he felt the blade of a knife in it. Who? One dead body lay behind door 5. The body of the 9th man. Another lay in the shower room. The body of Snake. At the central staircase were 3 more. Ace, Santa, and Clover. Just outside the door were 2 corpses, those of Seven and Lotus. And in this very room lay the body that had once been Connie. And now Junpei would join them. Who then had killed them all? Who? Junpei let out one last breath. Faintly, he felt the bubbles creep up the sides of his face. His consciousness faded quickly, dissolving away into the cold, gently lapping up the water. the end? Or is it? All right, let us... Well, so it turns out door 2 was not a great way to go either. However, I think we learned something very interesting. A little bit about 7 and a bit about Lotus and how they seem to have a semi-connected past. I have no idea who killed us on that one, since everyone is dead, as far as we know. So, like, yeah, who the hell? Anyway, so next time, we shall try one more time, only I have a plan. And I think we'll start unraveling a little bit. So hey, look forward to it, because it'll be a hell of a time. I'll see y'all then. Bye-bye!